If you go into a dentist's office nowadays and ask how much dentures will be, they probably won't give you a straight answer. They'll probably say something along the lines of, it depends. What I'd like to do today is take a deep dive into the cost and give you guys some actual numbers. Of course, these are just going to be averages and estimations, so you need to take it with a grain of salt, but I've done a lot of research and made up a spreadsheet that aligns with the quotes that I've gotten. So I think it's pretty good. It'll give you a pretty good idea of, what are you actually looking at paying for dentures or All-on-4 or All-on-6 or snap-in denture. So we'll cover all of the different prosthetics in this video and give you guys a good idea of what's going on. All right, so initially this is a lot of information, so we'll break it down piece by piece and try and make it a little more clear. So this table here is the overall totals, and then this table here is going to be individual procedures for the different prosthetics. And if you're wondering kind of what the differences are between the three, I have a video on that, and go back and watch that video and it'll make things a lot more clear. So breaking down this this procedure table, we have extractions all the way to implants. There's all three of the prosthetic types and their costs. We have minimum cost, which is pretty much don't depend on that. It's pretty much unobtainable, or if you do, it's probably from a really sketchy provider. Average is like when I said I did the calculations on mine, I fell right about in this average column. And then high end, that is pretty much worst case scenario, and we will dive into that a little bit more in terms of what makes worst case scenario. We're assuming 28 extractions in this table, so if you do have wisdom teeth, you do have to add those on. Hopefully you'll be able to use this table in order to kind of add up and see what your total is, or just look at the averages and kind of get an idea of, all right, that's somewhere close what I'm going to be paying, because as you can see, and this is why dentists do this and don't give straight answers, and why it's justified, is our minimum that you could be spending on a procedure like this is about $5,500, and our maximum that I've projected, which of course you can go over, is $125,000. So that is a huge range. So hopefully this will help you narrow it down a little bit more. So the extractions are our least risky category. You may actually be able to find extractions for this minimum cost or even lower. Just be careful. Like I said, don't do it in your garage with a pair of pliers. That would be very bad. Average is around what I'm paying. So that's 28. And it'll really depend on the region where you're living in the country, but I would say that's pretty good for if you don't have anything else going on. You should be expecting around that number for 28 extractions. The extractions in this table do not account for complex extractions. So these are only simple extractions. So if you have a really bony tooth where they need to drill into the bone a little bit, or if you have something going on where they need to do more, they're not going to charge you for a simple extraction. They're going to charge you, that line item will be complex extraction. So watch out for that in this category. Bone grafting is not needed for everyone. For regular dentures, pretty much no one needs bone grafting, so it's not in there. Average, they're $500 to $800. I just paid about $500 for mine. They reinforce where the implants go in, and if you need it, it's a very good idea, but like I said, not everyone needs this, so you might be able to cut that category out. Sinus lift is a form of bone grafting, which is more uncommon, which is why minimum and average have a cost of 0. but in the worst case scenario, we're assuming, everything's a complete mess, that you need sinus lifts, and that would be the high-end cost for 2 sinus lifts, because you have one on this side and one on this side. So now we reach our totals for pretty much the prep work for these procedures. On the low end, if you're just getting dentures, $3,000. If things are a mess and your anatomy isn't good, which is not under your control at all, and you need a sinus lift, then you could be there. If you're in a really difficult spot in the country where there aren't many dentists around and you're not able to shop that much, that's going to affect it. But this is your total right here for your prep work, pretty much. It's going to prepare you for almost all of these procedures, with the exception of implants down here, which we will get to last. Regular dentures are going to run you anywhere from $2,400 to $10,000 plus if you have a funky situation, but this is more material cost, so it's a little bit easier to predict. Dentures are generally only made out of acrylic, the traditional ones, and same with overdentures, which are implant retained. So that cost is carried down here. So this assumes that they're both acrylic. Now your All-on-4 is the Cadillac procedure of what you can do. This is going to vary widely because there are different materials that are not accounted for in here. This is kind of just averaging all three of those major materials, porcelain, zirconia, and I think they do acrylic. Don't quote me on it though. Anywhere from $12,000 to $30,000. Obviously this is much more expensive. They're usually made out of zirconia, and with our 3D printing technology that we're coming up on nowadays, I expect this cost to go down quite a bit because more and more dentists are actually putting 3D printers in their offices. So they're not sending your data off to a lab and they're making the prosthetic. The dentists are actually plugging it into a computer and it 3D prints a prosthetic for you, even out of zirconia. So that, if you're kind of on the edge about an All-on-4 versus an overdenture, just wait it out a couple of years. I'm sure that the price of printing these things is going to go down. Because after all, unfortunately, really all that is that you're buying is an arch of zirconia. It's just a tiny little piece of material that you're paying all of that money for. A lot of the cost from this procedure will come from the implants. So if you can get away with as little as you can, that's going to drive your costs down. However, it's for, quality of life. Like for example, if you only have 2 implants down here, you might rock back and forth in the back. So you might want to get 4. So generally, these are a wide range. Again, these are just material. They're usually just titanium material, titanium alloys. So they can be somewhat predictable. However, there are different sellers and different marketers that claim, oh, I have the best alloy and stuff. So they can be $6,000 each. So this number right here is for 1 implant. So minimum probably you're paying at least $2,000 and maximum $6,000 if it's a complicated procedure or your dentist wants to use some really crazy material and funky attachments. They have attachments that go on top of the implants called abutments. Sometimes you can have 1 or 2 attachments, so that'll drive the cost up. So it really just depends on all of that. Generally, for overdentures, you're going to want to get 8. That's just my recommendation because of the rocking in the back. 4 on top, 4 on bottom. And for your All-on-4s, hence the name, you're going to get 8 implants. There is a procedure called All-on-6, and you guessed it, you'll have 12 implants. So that's accounted for down here. Finally, we'll get to our totals here. I personally am getting a overdenture with 8 implants, and mine is about $36,000. So it's in this average range here. There is a little bit of cost savings in the implants. The big jump is really from an overdenture to an all-on-4 because of that material, and that procedure is slightly different. Again, seeing a all-on-6 is going to be pretty rare with 12 implants generally. If you want something implant retained, you could expect 8 implants. So I'm hoping you'll be able to use this table to either just use it real quick and go right here and get a general idea of what you're going to be paying, or go hard with it and take each individual line item and add them all up and see what you need to pay, because everyone's going to be different. Like, I need 28 teeth extracted, you may only need 14. I don't need a sinus lift, you may need a sinus lift. So everything is laid out so you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on here. I hope this was able to clear a little bit up for you guys today, and you'll have more of an idea of kind of what you're looking at. Are you paying $5,000 or are you paying $125,000? That's something that's kind of important to know. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I welcome you to share your story down below in the comments or ask any questions. I have a playlist where I share my experience through videos. With that, thank you for watching, and we'll see you later.